Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where we're going to be doing a reaction review to Miku from BAND-MAID's non-band previous made band thing, LIL CUMIN. I think that's what we should pronounce it as. And so anyway, yes, just as we always do on here, what we have to do now, if you want to see the reaction, I actually just did it. So if you want to watch the song along with me, click the little link in the description below and that'll open up a separate player so you can see the reaction, because I'm about to give you my review. Are you ready for the review? If not, then pause this, check out that link in the description below and watch the reaction with me, because here comes the review now. Don't say I didn't warn you. Okay, that was actually, in a lot of ways, that was exactly what I think I expected. And yeah, there was some nice little features to that as well. So, as I said, the format that I'm assuming this takes, and I try not to pre-research anything, because I think often one of the most interesting things when we have our discussions after this is that you guys can tell me background things that I might not have known about it. But my assumption on this is that it was going to be one of those things where, because obviously Miku worked as an actual maid in a maid cafe, my understanding. And so this would have been one of those things where if there's a group of maids who regularly perform on the little stages, music stages they usually have in these cafes, and they're quite popular, then they get together, spend the smallest budget possible to record a song and a video, and then they can market that to their regulars to get a little bit of merch money. And that's what I assumed this was going to be. And I think that kind of was what this was. Because if we're first of all looking at the things where the signs where the budget shows, if we start with that, because we're always honest on this channel, you know, it's we're honest about the positive and negative, although I think overall this is actually quite a positive little song and video. The budget could clearly be seen, first of all, in the way the video was shot. They clearly just went to the park, had a quick shot around there, and then set up the camera tripod in like 3 or 4 locations and just sort of point, click. Yep, they were done. So there was that element to it. And also in the actual backing music, because the backing music, it seemed to, I think it was all synthesized. There was no recorded instruments in there, so no musicians required, and the instruments that were the sounds that were played were really not produced to anything more than just, you know, sort of factory setting synthesized instrument levels. So it was real basic stuff that, you know, you can kind of imagine like the maid cafes managers' cousins, you know, probably got a MIDI set up at home and he just knock this out on a keyboard or something like that. It had that sort of very bare basic feel as far as anything technical is concerned. However, what did work is that if you're going to do something simple, it's got to be catchy. Okay, the verses were fairly rudimentary, as was the pre-chorus and the bridge. They, you know, again, I'm glad they had a sung bridge in this. Actually, I'm glad they had a proper melodic bridge. But it was really the fact that the chorus was actually quite catchy. The chorus was good enough to justify this being an actual song and not just to cash in on cafe regulars or, you know, maybe local sort of idol fans. You know, fans of the idol culture. You probably know what I'm talking about. So it was interesting that this actually had a good enough chorus that it felt like someone had put a little bit of effort and love into writing a catchy song, a proper catchy song. And the rest of the song wasn't a letdown either. It was, like I say, it was, at its worst, it was rudimentary, which, again, is pretty good considering that they don't really have to deliver a particularly good song, given what they're doing here. They just have to deliver something. Yeah, like I say, it never dropped below rudimentary, and at its height, like I say, good chorus, good hook, you know, catchy. It's actually stuck in my head right now, which is always a positive sign when I'm sort of doing the review and I've still got the melody going around in my head. And a bridge that, again, they could have phoned that in. They could have just had it go to that instrumental bit and then go back round to breaking down and doing a last chorus. But they did have a nice sung bit to it as well, where it took on a little bit of a change in tone briefly. Yeah, it like I say, I mean, I'd be glad to admit that there's nothing of a wow factor to this, but I do think it's better than it needed to be, which is always a fairly high praise when you're looking at this sort of thing. And it was also competent. There was no signs of anything in there where you went, oh, that kind of lets it down. It was just more like I say, at its worst moments, it became rudimentary and the budget showed. At its best moments, it was actually quite entertaining, good little head bopper. And I was pleased as well that the three girls all had very different look. I mean, it's difficult when you look at this sort of thing. We're obviously looking at it through the glasses of retrospective, of knowing at least what happened to Miku. I'm imagining the other two didn't go into any form of career afterwards, but if they did, let me know. That would be interesting. Or music career, I mean. However, so we kind of looking at it from that retrospective, you kind of automatically would assume, well, yes, obviously Miku was clearly the one, born to be a star. However, I do think that looking at her here, I mean, this is the persona that she does with BAND-MAID, the whole crazy upbeat thing. That is very much a sort of maid persona, but just sort of amplified. It's like doing the sort of quirky maid thing up, tenfold. So looking at it here, it was more just her behaving, I would say, normally. And it came across as quite charming still, nonetheless. Her body language showed a little bit more expression. She looked like she was probably having more fun. The other two, I think, were much more sort of calm and, your normal sweet idle thing of being very, deliberate hand motions and everything like this, and less sort of maybe less natural in front of the camera. Hard to say. I was impressed actually. Like I said, I could hear there was some production work done on the vocals. However, I was impressed at how full and rounded Miku's voice sounded in this as well. I think we're so used to hearing it by comparison to Saiki, who's obviously got a very, very sort of big sounding voice. Sometimes we forget that actually Miku's got a really good voice as well. She really does. So hearing it in this context against the other two who were singing again in a much more, traditional idol sort of way. They had the much more high-ridge, the thinner sort of singing style. It was interesting that Miku's voice certainly sounded like the most full in this particular context. But that's not actually to deride too much from the others, because their voices really suited this song quite well in a nice way. I think that maybe with the arrangement more could have been done to play them off against each other, use the qualities of their individual voices a bit more. However, like I say, small criticism considering what we're looking at here and what the aim was and how it basically appears to have achieved that. So I would leave this one by saying, okay, it's this type of music is not really anyone's first choice. It's a kind of form of pop that's so light on content, so sort of airy and light, that it really only appeals to you if you're coming to it for something incredibly simple, or more likely if you're watching it in conjunction with the video and you're a fan already. So would I recommend coming back to this one? Personally, I would probably occasionally check it for curiosity, just as a sort of a bit of a yardstick, a measurement to hold alongside Miku's ongoing career with BAND-MAID. It's not to say that it's a bad song at all, though. If I was listening to a fairly sort of light and fluffy pop and this just came on a playlist, I wouldn't skip it. It's catchy. It's got a chorus that you can enjoy. So if you're in the mood for something like this, then yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. But like I say, at the same time, I don't think it quite stands out enough to be a go-to one. But that's not really the main measurement that we're measuring this against. Like I say, the measurement that I think this is held to, and the song can tell me something more grandiose about this song's origins, is how does it measure against your standard sort of maids do a maid cafe song type of song? And on that level, I think it was really good. Yeah, it showed its budget. It did show its budget, certainly, but it was really good at delivering a song that was decent length, didn't outstay its welcome. That's surprisingly actually something that often comes up with these sort of more low-budget pop songs, is often they'll outstay their welcome usually, and become sort of 6-minute long songs. I didn't check the timer on this, but I think it was significantly less than that. Let's have a little look. Yeah, okay, it was about 4.5 minutes, but it felt like it moved well, didn't feel like it got overly bogged down in anything. So yeah, I think this is a song that doesn't outstay its welcome. So if this came on a playlist, you'd just kind of enjoy it. It's mainly just building up to that chorus each time, but it's a good little chorus. So yeah, it's one of the, I think we have many songs in this channel which I say fit into this category, which is not a bad category at all, of not being remarkable enough to stand out as being something on that level. But then again, how many songs really do stand out? It's only the very top few which you remember permanently, and yet at the same time not being something which is soulless and easy to forget. It's something that you would occasionally be happy to hear come on to a playlist. So good stuff. Really interesting to see where Miku's come from. Really interesting to see the change that she's had to go through. It is nice though that because they're so honest about what their history is, about how they came together and everything like this, that it doesn't feel like uncovering a weird part of the past, just so much as seeing something that we all kind of knew and imagined was true, but actually getting to see it as, seeing it realistically and going, oh, okay, that's what it looks like if Miku from BAND-MAID is actually a maid and actually doing one of those sort of low budget idol videos. That's what it would look like, because that's what it was. So anyway, I've rambled on quite a bit about this one. I enjoyed that, like I say, and I would wholeheartedly listen to another song of theirs if you guys know that they have one. I'm assuming it's just this one single. As always, if there's anything interesting, do feel free to point it to me. But first of all, let's get in the comments. You can like as well if you'd like and subscribe. But before anything, let's get in the comments and have a little discussion about this, as we always do. Tell me what you thought of this song, whether you liked it, whether you thought it was better than you expected or not quite up to what you expected, what you think of Miku's contribution to this. Do you know anything about this recording that I don't know? Probably there'll be a few good, strong BAND-MAID fans on here who'll be able to tell me stuff that I didn't know about this, or couldn't pick up from a first listen. And so that would be the best thing for you to do now, is get in the comments. And if you want to do more talking, then our Discord and our Reddit and all the social medias are still linked in the description below. And as well as our Patreon. Massive thank you to our Patreon supporters for keeping the channel up and running. I keep on saying it and it keeps on being true. But until I see you hopefully very soon on the next video, for now, from Japan, a big thank you for making it through to the end, and ciao ciao.